Good morning, it's 9 a.m., Monday, May 9th, 2022. This is the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First is to review the agenda.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Santos. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next is discussion and possible action to approve a proposal for the Muscatine County Historic Preservation Commission in the amount of $16,000 for engineering services for the Muscatine County Fairgrounds Grandstand Walkway renovation project with Bradley Roth of Watersmith Engineering.
We get to grill you now, Brad.
Good morning.
Morning.
Could you kind of talk about your project with us a little bit this morning?
Yeah, so there was an RFP or request for qualifications issued by the county a month or so ago. We submitted the proposal and then were selected by a committee of, I'm not sure who was on the committee, but a local committee. So asked to put forward this contract, but basically we'd be designing a replacement for the long walkway that's kind of in the middle, separating the upper bleachers from the lower bleachers at the grandstand at the racetrack in West Liberty. And so this would be the engineering to put the plans together for constructing removing and putting a new walkway in there.
And Brad, when I reviewed the contract, it looked like, so this was the engineering. Is there a belief there would be architectural services required with this as well? Or primarily you're looking at the basic structure and support?
Correct, yeah. I think a couple of things I wanted to clarify, and sometimes I write things into the contract just so it's a little clear what we are doing, what we're not doing.
Right.
So it's just the walkway, it's not the whole structure, not the bleacher, not the roof, that part of things, it's just that walkway. And, yeah, we don't have an architect on board, so if something came up where you wanted an architect on board, then that would be additional.
What about like evaluation of ADA compliance and accessibility? Was that part of your services or would that require architectural services?
A lot of times an architect would get involved in those kind of things. We weren't proposing to put in a big ADA ramp that would get wheelchairs up to that level. It was more just, replacing what's there now.
Okay.
Brad,
Go ahead.
you had mentioned about excavations and then any testing of the soils or anything like that. Is there going to be in your work that you're going to be doing? Is there going to be anything like that would?
No, we weren't planning to do that. Basically, getting under the structure, measuring where the support columns are now, and replacing what's there, and using kind of code values for soil strength and that type of thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there are some structural things that need addressed there.
Okay.
How much, Doug, this may be more a question for the Fair Board. How much other work is needed on that grandstand area? Do we have any idea? Sounds like the whole structure possibly needs to be evaluated and looked at.
The main structure, I think, is decent shape. It's the walkway that's causing problems right now. Down the road, we're looking at a roof. It needs some renovation.
And now, this is in the city of West Liberty proper, correct?
I believe so, yes.
And then, so from their building codes, are they gonna require, I don't know if we're doing major work on this walkway, are they gonna require ADA compliance as a part of that rework? Have we talked with them, or do we know?
I'm sure that we want to look into that
Yeah.
because that has been discussed.
Well, and what he's providing though, it basically states that this is not what's provided. And if it's needed or if there's
Then it would be
then
additional.
It would
Yeah,
be
I just-
additional. So I think we just clarify that this is what you're providing as a scope.
And I
So-
didn't know if under your contract, and I know the county, we have a contract with an architect on a service basis, but do you have agreements with architects that you use frequently, or yay, nay?
Well, I think you guys use Michael Nolan, right?
Yeah.
I've been working with him as well, so he'd probably be the first name that came to my mind.
Okay.
What you mentioned about archaeological testing, That shouldn't be needed in anything like this, correct? I mean, this is existing, so we're not gonna be going back in and needing to do that since we're putting back in basically just a reinforced structure.
Right, yeah, if you're seeing that in the contract, I think sometimes.
I think it was that, like, this is not included, is what you were
Right.
saying, and so I'm thinking in my mind, why would we need that?
Clarify, yeah, you know, sometimes if something comes up down the road, you think, well, you ought to just provide that, cause you should have anticipated that, and
Well,
it's just there to say, well, we didn't include this type of thing in the contract.
And
Since
this-
it was historical dollars, that's what I was, sorry, I didn't understand if there would been a potential for something like that needed, that's why I just wanted to
Not
double
to my
check on
knowledge,
it.
no.
Okay, alright.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion by Jeff, second by Santos.
What-
All-
just-
No, go ahead.
One last comment, when would you be starting this work if we get this approved?
The structural engineering is provided by Car Engineering out of Bettendorf, and so we'll check with them. I think we have 6 to 8 weeks on the first phase to get kind of a preliminary plan submitted. So it'll be, you know, we'll get going.
This year, we could possibly start some of this installation?
Yeah, you'll have final plans ready to bid. I think it's either late summer or this fall. So it'll be up to, I think there needs to be some fundraising to happen. I haven't been
Yes.
involved on that side, but there was a grant, so I think this is 50% grant funded just for the engineering. So that
Okay.
doesn't obviously include the construction costs, so.
And I don't recall, there was some comments in your contract around construction management. So what part of this, you're gonna do the engineering? Would you go through the RFP and bid evaluation, or is that not part of this agreement?
I think we included that as hourly, so,
Okay.
yeah, we would be.
There was an hourly for construction management, that was it, yeah, okay, and
Yeah,
you gave
so we would
rates.
help get bids, evaluate the bids, make a recommendation, do, you know, some periodic field inspections, that type of thing.
Okay,
And back to what Jeff had mentioned, so if there was a permitting need for whatever, let's just say 1 or 2 permits with the city if needed, I don't know if that would be, but would you be involved in that as well?
We can be, yeah, it wouldn't probably be a big issue.
I don't think it would be with what we're trying to do, but I think it would be just good to clarify if there's a permit, maybe we verify with that city that we understand what we're doing and here's what we're doing, so that way it's
Right, yeah.
communicated.
Yeah, we coordinate with the city to make sure we cover their requirements, and if we felt like there was something that was, you know, way above and beyond,
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's just communicating with them, knowing that that's that portion of the work. I
Yeah.
think it'll be a great addition regardless of it, but
As far as actually getting the work started, I don't know what the timeline on something like that would be. There's fundraising to be done, and she's got us booked this year, so.
well, the only
grandstands.
challenge is what we're doing. So let's say hypothetically, let's say that the funds by November. Well, now the ground's probably so much that if it's frozen, you run into the excavation cost, and then you're having to.
I mean, that's something that'll have to be worked out.
So you have to look at that how you do that. If you do it during the spring, is it too is it too wet? Is it too muddy? I don't know. I mean, it just varies. Depends on what the weather gives.
Yeah. Late fall would probably be the best timing on
Yeah.
that. For sure.
Well, we'll let you take care of all that, Brad.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right, well, I've got a motion by Jeff, a second by Santos, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion passes, thank you, Brad.
Thank you,
Appreciate
appreciate supporting the businesses, thank you.
Next up is items with Community Service Director Felicia Topper. Good morning.
Good morning.
Felicia?
I believe you have a proclamation in front of you.
Yeah, first is discussion and possible action to approve proclamation 05092201, Mental Health Month, May of 2022.
And I'm gonna, do you want me to read the proclamation? Or do you wanna read the proclamation?
You can read it.
Alrighty, yes, can I have a copy of it?
Or you can read the high points, I don't, I'm not sure.
There you go.
I don't have it memorized today. You know, I sent it to Nancy for edits, and there we go. So, whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, And whereas Mental Health America reports 46% of Americans will meet the criteria for diagnosable mental health condition sometime in their life, and half of those people will develop that condition by the age of 14. That's absolutely striking. And whereas prevention and awareness are effective ways to reduce the burden of mental health conditions, and whereas there is a strong body of research that supports specific tools that all Americans can use to better handle challenges and protect their health and well-being, and whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our county regardless of socioeconomic boundaries, and whereas we encourage our citizens to get help for mental health conditions and to understand it's as important to treat as any other illness such as diabetes or heart disease. And whereas each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen share the burden of mental health problems and has a responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention efforts. And whereas through increased awareness, we can achieve our goal to abandon negative stigmatism and reinforce our acceptance of individuals seeking treatment. I think that's a profound statement. We still have stigma around mental health issues, especially in the workplace. Therefore, be it resolved that Muscatine County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim May 2022 as Mental Health Month and call upon citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools of Muscatine County, Iowa to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health. The steps our citizens can take to protect their mental health and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental illnesses at all stages. I think it's very important.
Absolutely, I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Nathan and a second by Jeff. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, opposed? Passes. Next is discussion and possible action to approve a hiring request from Community Services.
The request was in your packet, the hiring process form, along with Felicia's justification for requesting to hire above minimum.
How far above is it?
This is midpoint.
Okay.
I'd move the approval.
Second.
I think he's an extremely qualified individual,
Yep.
above and beyond what we expected for that position, and I appreciate your work on that, Felicia. We really do value what your
And the whole
team has
committee.
done
And the
on
whole
that. so
commission and their efforts to
Yes.
recruit and find just the right persons. Good
Happy
job.
that you're able to do that, and your team was good, and so we're just rubber stamping it, if you wanna say that. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that. And I have to say, the Veterans Commission really put a lot of effort and a lot of thought into the hiring process. They reviewed the interview questions and they sanctioned all of that. And so I really appreciate their work as well. So, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you, Felicia.
I was quite surprised that they were able to find an individual with the background and experience in veterans issues that they found, which
Yeah.
I was very, very pleased.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Cause that's been a challenge for us in the past, so.
Yes.
Kudos
And we
to the
have, we
commission.
have very high hopes for being able to increase the outreach, because I know that's what the Veterans Commission is interested in, is getting out to outreach to some of our younger veterans, and especially our women veterans as well, and getting the services that they need through that process. So, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it.
Okay, I've got a motion by Jeff, a second by Doug on this issue. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Felicia, do you have anything other to add?
Well, I wanted to let you know that we are still working on, we're farther along in trying to get a mental health center here in Muscatine. One of the things when I was hired, that was one of my goals, is to see if we could get a mental health center back here in Muscatine. And we're inching closer and closer all the time. The state is working on the rules around getting a mental health center here, because we are big enough. We have enough need to have a full-scale mental health center here. And it's it's my hope that Robert Young Center is able to accomplish that. They put in the Chapter 24 documents, and they are poised and ready to go ahead and make the application. We're hoping that DHS sanctions them as a mental health provider in our county. They do that now, but with that sanction, that will help in terms of the process of applying for being a mental health center. So I'm very hopeful for that.
What would you say are the biggest obstacles at this point?
I think the biggest obstacles are really the state rules and policies in terms of getting all of those in place. Because right now, the mental health committee doesn't really have a clear path for how they want to approve mental health centers in counties or areas that don't have them currently. And I think they need to get that rolling. I think they need to stay on the gas pedal with that.
Is there anything we as the board can do to help that process along?
And Jeff can probably speak to that better than I can.
Well, I think maybe, I'm on the State Mental Health and Disability Services Commission, and this has been a frustration of mine, because when I first came on, we had a known provider in Iowa seeking to get the designation in a county in Iowa that did not have a provider. They provide the service in other counties in Iowa, and they were held up by this commission because they have not done the rules. I was quite frustrated because, to me, that seems kind of just awkward.
But that's Robert Young.
No, this was,
A different
they were,
group, okay.
this was, the person petitioning the commission at this point was, Optimay. Optimay operates throughout Iowa, and they do a great job for Iowans. And I was frustrated that, and quite frankly, we had other CMHCs that were opposing this. And I was, so I was a little bit miffed, and it still hasn't done, and it's caught up in bureaucracy, and it's frustrating, but I think it's getting there, so I don't know when we'll have that done.
May I please approach the podium? I could give a little insight on this one.
Sure, I'll allow you to speak.
Thank you.
I do not. Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you, Felicia. Yep.
My name is Shelley Servideo Elias, and I'm currently the state chairwoman of the Veterans Caucus for the Iowa Democratic Party. And I've written
Could you speak up,
legislation.
please? I can't.
You can't hear me? Is this better? Sorry.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so I've actually written legislation for veterans that are suicidal and in crisis. And one of the things that we run into that's a roadblock to everything that you guys are speaking about right now that our state needs to apply for is called the Imd Exclusion. And it's a federal policy. It's in a federal policy brief by NAMD. And basically our state needs to apply for the Imd Exclusion. It says Medicaid cannot pay for care provided in institutions with more than 16 beds. So this is the brick wall that we're running into statewide, and it's a federal policy that is blocking us as far as funding goes for beds. So our state legislators need to apply for this Imd Exclusion, and then that will help us break down those barriers for these new things that we're applying for when we want more mental health care facilities in our county. That helps us get those beds paid for. Thank you, I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is items with Planning and Zoning Administrator Eric Furness. Morning, Eric. First is discussion and possible action to approve an ordinance rezoning approximately 6.0 acres in Fulton Township from A1 agricultural district to a C2 commercial district on the second of 3 readings.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Jeff, second by Nathan. This is a roll call vote. Jeff?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Santos?
Aye.
And Doug?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is, any comment on that at all? Okay. Next is review and possible action to accept a variance granted by the Muscatine County Board of Adjustment on May 6, 2022.
Yep, last Friday, the Board of Adjustment held a public hearing on a variance request that would allow this homeowner to build a detached garage approximately 10 foot from the side property line, so the required 25 feet. The 25 foot is required on this lot because it's a corner lot, so there is a greater setback requirement on corner lots to provide for site distance issues when coming to an intersection. However, the location of this proposed garage is still a good 100 foot back from that intersection, so it didn't, they found that it wouldn't create any visual obstructions when pulling out onto the public highway. Well, variances should never be routine. The board was able to find that this one, there was a demonstrable hardship, given unique geographical limitations of the lot, with ravines and slopes, and so, they felt that the public interest would not be harmed in it as well.
Where on the lot are they gonna build it?
So this would be on the west side of the lot. I don't know if in your package.
There's some little structure there right now, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a tiny little like lawn shed there and like a wood pile, and so there'd be a garage there.
Okay, so, alright.
We're gonna go into.
I don't know if
Yeah,
it came through in your package.
It'd be kind of where the driveway
The
kitty
maps
corner.
in there.
Oh, okay, sorry, should have came with the whole package.
Oh, yeah.
Red outline, proposed garage, that septic field, you should just be able to show what's kind of also limiting, then this
Got
is
it.
sloped.
Yeah.
Doesn't provide, so.
Okay.
But it's-
This is Deer Tree.
Yeah, this is G28 here. Yeah, so it sits clear back, you,
Yeah, you're not.
It doesn't.
Anywhere near.
Okay, no, very good.
Create any issues, proposed garage.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion by Jeff, second by Santos. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Anything other? Eric?
I'm just gonna give you a quick update on the couple of projects, then I need to get going. County Attorney's Office carpet will be, right now we're scheduled for carpet installation to start on Wednesday, Thursday. Well, starting on Wednesday, they're booking the installation for up to 3 days. We think we'll be able to accomplish it on Wednesday, Thursday. Staff's already begun. We're gonna do it in half, to keep the, office operational. General service staff already started taking apart some of the old cubicles and worked with Bill on temporary workstations. So that will happen this week, provided there's not any issues with the installer showing up. And then the following week, the furniture is scheduled to arrive. And then we have Lucas Communication and Nelson Electric to come in the very next day and make the final additional electrical and network connections to the new workstation. So keeping our fingers crossed that everything should be wrapped up by the end of next week. Other than a little tile work there in the kitchenette area, they had to order the new tile. Jail project continues to creep along, however, got a couple issues with the new door that was installed not aligning correctly, so that's been sent back to the contractor. Had some sewer issues last week with some of the new plumbing. Oscar brought to my attention some backups that were occurring again, so I had a plumber come in with a camera. And as it turns out, it wasn't construction related per se. We found some more sections of the existing sewer line that had that duct tape in the center of it, like we had to clear on the other side of the hallway. No explanation. It just cast iron segments that have duct tape with a hole in the middle of it. Apparently it never created an issue before because upstream we didn't have cells. We just had like a mop sink, and so there wasn't a lot of demand put on this constricted sewer line. So I've got a local contractor gonna come in and clear those just like we did the other ones. Fortunately, we had proper clean out access, so.
So we had clean out ports for that one?
Yeah, they're able to get to it, so they feel confident they'll get those cleared hopefully this week. A little concrete had to be redone. We found some deficiencies in part of the drive and a pier that held the intercom. I made them replace that. It was cracking out where they put the anchor bolts in. Continue to work with Johnson Controls, but we're making headway on getting function of some of the controls going. Still a few things to be fleshed out before we have final completion.
Did we get the sprinkler heads, I think, taken care of this last week? I understand they had some issues with that.
I'm not aware, I know, do you know anything about the sprinkler heads? Matt?
Sprinkler heads for,
I'm not sure.
yeah,
Said one of them was going off, I think, this last week or something.
was just an inmate.
That was an alarm that the inmate
Oh.
set off.
Okay.
It's plugged and scheduled to be refinished. There's a protective gate that protects that from happening. The protective gate was damaged, removed by the inmate, and the inmate damaged the sprinkler head, so.
Okay. That's, yeah, okay, I thought it was different. All right.
Eric, the doors you were speaking of, were these man doors or overhead doors?
So the door, you'll recall, we approved a change order to put a new door in where we had salvaged a door and frame and relocated it. When we placed the frame and the door, we found the actual metal door was rusting on the inside, so we approved a change order to go ahead and just
Right.
keep the frame. It had already been patched with new stainless steel, painted, placed. So we got the new door installed. It's not closing and opening right, and what they're finding is the old frame has some, it's not perfectly square everywhere. Mike came down and looked at it with me and Oscar last week. He thinks that the contractor can still make some adjustments in the way it mounts. I'm not that optimistic, but at the end of the day, they owe us a functional door. So we're working through that. If they can make adjustments with the way it's mounted and it opens, right now there's daylight, you can see all the way around it. There's too much tension for the automatic opener to work properly. So it was the attempts were there. We tried to salvage usable frames and doors where we could. The reality is it may not work with a new perfectly square door and a slightly skewed frame, but we're gonna see what they can do.
All right, thank you. Next up is items with County Engineer Keith White. First is discussion and possible action to approve various utility permits.
Yes, and we have 4 this morning. The first is from Durant Municipal Electric of Durant, Iowa. And they were requesting to bore under F-58 immediately east of Verde for an emergency repair, which we did give them verbal approval to do that. And the remaining 3 are from Eastern Iowa Light and Power, Eastern Iowa RAC, I guess they alternatively use both names. 3 locations. The first is to set a cabinet and bore electric underneath Sweetland Road, approximately 2,000 feet south of 180th for a new house. The second is to set 2 new poles with anchors at both ends of our project on North Isaac, where we're planning to replace Bridge 133. And the last is to set a cabinet and bore electric beneath Lindell Avenue for House 1713, and they'll retire the overhead service.
Keith, do we have any requirements for depths of poles?
Poles?
Yeah, you said they were gonna put poles, right?
No, we don't have any, we do not have any requirements for that.
Is that just a they just tell us what they're putting down and if they're 10 feet deep or 20 feet deep?
They don't tell us that at
Anything?
all. When they replace a pole, they replace a pole. I think the old rule is it depends on what it is, but the old rule is, I think, is 1/3 in, 2/3 out. But I'm sure they have some sort of
Yeah,
standards
I'm
that
sure
they-
there's I just didn't know if we had any policies or if we saw that, say, a lot of them tipped over during high winds, you know?
We do not.
Okay. Okay.
They're more likely to go over during ice storms too.
Yeah. Normally the poles they don't get uprooted, they're snapped off.
Yeah.
Because of the wind resistance of the wiring, catches that wind and it snaps those poles off. Is the general issue.
Yeah, but there are depths of differences that they do have that I've seen.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know if we had any policies or questions or things like that. Okay.
I'll move the approval.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Doug. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes. Project updates.
A lot of the same old, 171st Street. Not a lot could happen last week because of rain on, rain off, rain on, rain off. Schroeder plans to, the way the forecast looks, to finish backfilling the culvert this week. And DeLong, who's the next sub that's doing dirt work, plans to start this week. And the weather stays good. I mean, we're looking at the end of the month maybe for paving to start. And really all the rest of the things out there are the same. Questions on projects?
Not so much on projects. Keith, when we talked, I think a year back or two, about regards to setting gravel at allocated locations around the county to kind of help distribute.
Right.
How's that coming along? Have you?
We've completed that, I don't know, a month ago.
Okay. Okay. So as the spring or the early summer starts coming in and you guys start planning on some of those things.
They've been spot rocking and you know, this week the weather here, we might be able to get to full-time hauling soon.
Okay. And have the prices for those rocks been continuously around the same?
Well, they've continuously increased.
Okay. Well, I didn't know, that's what I'm asking.
They have not been huge increases.
Okay. Good. Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
I'd seen them out for a while now, spotting light spots. They've
Yeah.
been working on it.
In the shed there at 61 Ward, they've had a large stockpile there for quite some time. Yeah.
Good.
Okay, anything other, Keith?
The only other thing I have met with and talked to all of the county engineer applicants, and talking solely and specifically about technical knowledge and ability relative to county secondary roads, bridges, and asphalt and Portland pavings and such. So I had ranked those in a specific order, which I can provide to you. And if you would like to know in more detail how I did that, then you know, I can get with you and show you all the things I considered. I'll give you those. And it's just alphabetical order by first initial. Bear in mind, several of them have asked to keep their names confidential until it would become more of a reality, so.
What kind of a scale are we looking at here? Is this out of 10? Is this out of 100?
It's 0 to 10.
Okay.
Thanks for asking.
I mean, if we're looking at IQ scores here, I'm a little worried. You know.
Well, it doesn't hurt to ask the question.
Right?
Okay,
That's all I have.
that's all you have? Very good, thank you, Keith. Next up is discussion of possible action to approve the minutes of the May 2nd, 2022 regular meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Nathan, second by Jeff, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, passes. Correspondence, Jeff, do you have anything?
Nothing to note.
Nathan?
I do not.
I had nothing to note. Santos?
I got a call on 245th wanting to thank Keith and his team for being out there and helping on the road. They said that there was a lot of items that they felt was helpful, and obviously thanking the board for hearing them out. So that's all I had.
Okay, is that all you had?
Yep.
Okay, Doug?
I just had one call on a hump in the road from putting rock down, and I gave Keith a call, and that was taken care of right away, so.
Okay, very good. How about committee reports, Doug?
No committee reports. I worked beer cells at the racetrack Saturday night, cause we raced. That's all I had.
Okay, Santos committee?
I had couple of meetings, I wouldn't know if they fall under committees, but I had a meeting with the U.S. Corps of Engineers and the Army for the levee project. Denise Mulot was on it with Cleaner Associates, and Rich and a couple others from the Corps. Sharing, I guess, identifying where we're at, the timing of what needs to be done. Some tasks were kind of assigned from Denise and her team, and obviously the Corps, and just communications, because there's so many different groups, and there was a little bit of challenges on who needs to do what. So I think that clarified a lot in that productive meeting, kind of who needs to take the next step, because we know that the funding has certain timelines. And so there's discussions in regards to making sure that we're identifying those needs and making sure that they're clearly being identified. So that was the meeting we had on May 3rd. On May 5th, I had a meeting with the city administrator, Muscatine, and Kim Warren, and a couple of child care providers in regards to some of these child care providers are starting to shut down due to the fact that they're paying $9 an hour. They just wanted to share and communicate that, as economic development grows and there's not any funds from the state that helps to fund for new locations, but they don't help fund for employees with all the testing that they need to do. And so just to share with us that information, and we shared with them our input. On May 6th, I had a meeting with the Weldon Advisory Committee for the Eastern Iowa in regards to Scott Community College, Muscatine Community College, and quite a few businesses from SSAB to John Deere, Alcoa's. And they're just sharing with me, I'm on that board, we meet once a quarter, with local high schools and colleges, and identifying what the welding needs and the local areas are needing for new positions, new jobs, and what the colleges should be teaching to help fill those needs. So a very good, productive meeting. I think there was a lot of things that they took back from our input. That's all I had.
Okay. I had no committees. Nathan?
No.
And Jeff?
On Thursday, May 5th, was the E911 Service Board and the EMA Commission.
Okay.
And I think probably the most notable thing, and thank Jim for his help and Nancy, the commission took action. I think the MCJCC last month took action to dissolve MCJCC and move those duties into the EMA Commission. So there's 2080 and lots of legal work to do, but we're moving forward. And then I think there's also an opportunity on the E911 Service Board to move those responsibilities into the EMA Commission as well, so that we'll have, the county elected officials, that would be all cities and the county are represented in that group, and they'll be making the financial and directional decisions for those services. So I think it's a good move. It's been years coming, but we're making some headway, and I think we'll get it done.
And Jasper's in charge of that group right now.
Well, Chris has been been appointed the interim EMA manager. He also manages the dispatch center, and we're looking at the EMA group with Nancy's help, obviously, is looking at that whole organization, and to support these the new organization, what will the people structure look like. Okay. So clearly gonna be different.
I'm concerned it was a little bit.
We did, the EMA Commission did approve a part-time position, I think.
An assistant, but
An assistant to Chris to help him with his duties.
I would say they gave him permission to move forward with, developing that job description and figuring out a pay for that. I'm starting to look at whether it makes sense to put, Chris in his combined role, and then the quality and training supervisor that he already has in Muscom, whose salary is currently tied to his. And then this new position, whether or not we can put those just into the county salary administration program, and they just become part of that rather than creating separate pay scales for them.
I think that makes,
I'm looking at, I think that I can make that work.
I don't think we wanna create another complicated setup.
Yep. I agree with it.
And I think that, I think Doug's point, there's a lot of activity. There's a couple of things that we should be doing that we have not been doing, so I think Chris is creating a game plan, so I think this whole EMA communication center, that whole area, we're gonna have a better roadmap here coming
I
soon.
think he's reached out to a lot of, cities more than I think that we've probably had in the past. I had communications with
Cities
West Liberty
and actually employers.
and employers, correct. And so then the feedback was like, hey, do you know if Chris is in? I tried to call him this week, we're following up, and I was like, I'm sure he's maybe, just keep following up. But it was just that kind of feedback that was sent to me. I thought, well, gosh, I never, knew there were so many different aspects of what his role is. So that's why I was like, are we putting too much on him to make sure that we have that? And I'm sure you guys are discussing that.
Well,
which
I
is
think
good.
that's gonna be the challenge the EMA commission's gonna have, is to try to define, cause as, I can tell you, in conversations with other county boards of supervisors, these organizations have taken on numerous roles that kinda don't make, like in Clinton County, they were doing medical examiner stuff, and so then you build staffs and organizations around roles that I think people acquired, but I don't think they were necessarily planned. And I think that's the roadmap I'm looking for, is what is the scope of these organizations, what are the responsibilities, and we build the proper organization structure to support that. And then I think the policymakers need to determine if those are actually things we're gonna fund and do or not, and not
And I
necessarily.
think Chris has a pretty clear vision of this organization and what it should encompass. So I think EMA will be getting a pretty laid out plan in terms of roles and responsibilities.
Chris is doing a really good job. We've already are working with West Liberty to work on an evacuation plan in case of a chemical spill or an ammonia leak, and that was something probably should have happened
A long time ago.
a long time ago, and he's implemented that already, so.
Yep, just good communications. So. All right.
Okay. Items with the administration office. First is discussion possible action to approve resolution 05092201, transferring funds from the rural services fund to the secondary roads fund.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Nathan. This is a roll call vote. Jeff?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Santos?
All right.
Doug?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is discussion and possible action to authorize increasing the credit card limit from 3,000 to 5,000 for general services.
And 5,000 is more in line with what we have for all the other departments. We've run into an issue that there's a particular tool that Oscar was needing to replace. We looked into repairing it, and it was gonna cost about the same to repair it or buy a new one. However, it's over $3,000, so.
Yeah, we've done this in recent history for several other
Yep.
groups.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Santos?
Yep.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion
And I think
passes.
the 5,000 limit's more in keeping with our procurement policy, right?
Yes.
Nancy? Yeah. So I think we have a $4,500 or something in there. Okay.
Okay. Next is discussion and possible action authorizing the execution of the Wellmark third-party administration documents for FY 22-23.
As you know, well, we are self-funded and Wellmark is our third-party administrator. This is just authorizing to sign all the documents to continue that arrangement for another fiscal year.
I'll move the approval.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Santos. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next is action to set the FY 22-23 health and dental premiums.
I included in your packet a little spreadsheet showing, last year when we negotiated union contracts, we negotiated to keep the 3 plans for the 3 years of the contract, and we negotiated the employee share for those 3 years. So this is just making it increases the county share, and it increases the employee share for the premiums for next year.
How much is the increase for the employee?
It depends on what plan. For Plan 1 and Plan 2, for single, it's $15 a month. For Plan 3, it's $10 a month. If you have family coverage, for Plan 1 and Plan 2, it's $35 a month. And if you have Plan 3, it's $25 a month. And then for dental, there's no increase for single. The employee doesn't pay any share of that now, and they continue not to. For family dental, it's an increase of $3 a month.
So it looks like the county share in most of these goes up a lot more than the employee.
The county increases $50 a month for health and $3 a month for dental.
Yeah, I'll move to approve.
Second.
I've got a motion by Jeff, second by Santos.
Thank you, Sherry, for following up a lot of that, keeping those costs and reviewing those things.
That's Nancy.
That happens all the time.
That's
I
okay.
get called Sherry and Sherry gets called Nancy.
My
so
mind, it's already thinking about what I was talking, sorry.
That's okay.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Action to set the health insurance annual enrollment and dental insurance open enrollment periods for FY 22/23, May 13th through June 3rd, 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Santos. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Discussion and direction regarding possible wellness programs through Wellmark.
So last week when the folks from Wellmark came and did a presentation on like our annual report and what's happened, and then we had a brief discussion about some wellness options. So I'm just looking for some direction here. Do you want these folks to come back and present to you in detail? Do you want me to go through that process and come back to you with a recommendation? How do you want to do that?
I guess I think it makes more sense to put that on your plate, just cause they're gonna be selling at a high level and the details are probably where the action is.
The other thing is, I think that we probably need to, at least at some level, have a conversation about what that investment might look like. I think if I last recalled, Nancy, the health fund balance was kinda hanging in there, and we were running around 1.6 million. And we think that we're probably, what was the recommended balance? I mean, I don't know how much, if we consider that we have a healthy balance, how much do we wanna invest in wellness funds? Cause I think what we need to do to see if it has an effect, you're probably looking at a multi-year.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
You wanna, you're not gonna even know probably for 3 to 5 years whether it's had any effect.
Yeah, and that would be part of what I would do. I'd put all those numbers
Okay,
together for
alright,
you, so.
Perfect, okay.
I think, yeah, that makes the most sense.
Okay,
So we're just gonna let Nancy.
Yeah, I think,
Put it in her lap.
yeah, just put it, I think the one thing that I would like to look at is just make sure that if there are a couple, it sounded like there was multiple variations of what they had to offer, but
there is, and I've sat through some of the demonstrations and looked through some of the stuff already. There's some more that I will look to more in depth. The diabetes one, that there seemed to be some interest there.
and I think the biometric pieces that where they can come in and they offer some of those things, but if there's, a service of something of that nature, that maybe that would be a potential positive, I think that would be a positive.
And I think, one of the questions we'll have to struggle with, some employers have chosen to incent people through premium reductions.
Yes, they do.
Not additional charges, but reductions. It was one of my friend calls it, he went to fat camp. Now, he's not overweight, but he has risk factors in the family. And he actually said it was really, really good because it taught him a lot about risk factors and how you can manage those yourself. So he actually was a big proponent of it and said, and they as a part of their offering was, saved him money by doing that. And they provided the education free and all that, but, so, That's just something I think we're gonna have to contemplate.
Well, and the other thing that we've kind of struggled with up till now in terms of implementing wellness policy is, I think as you know, my office certainly isn't overstaffed. And a lot of these wellness programs, you really need somebody cheerleading that effort. Some of the stuff they've come out with now is more centered online. So it would take less hands-on from a staff member in my office. For people that want to get involved in that, to get involved with it, so.
One of the challenges though, you know, and I don't know, if I remember some of our statistics about the demographics of our population and also of our spend, I think we have to be aware or sensitive to the demographics and how online is accepted.
Yep.
Is our higher spend demographic typically online users? Don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that,
Yeah.
it's just a question.
Yeah.
That's true. That's why Nancy's gonna take care of that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Good job, Nancy.
But I think it's a great opportunity, and if we can do something that helps our members, our employees, you know, live a better life, then I think we ought to do it, so, good.
Okay.
Was there anything other, Nancy?
The other would be, now that Keith has finished his review and ranking of the candidates, the next step in this process is, at last discussion, the board indicated that you wanted to do formal interviews. So I need some direction about, if you wanna interview all three, if you wanna pare that number down, and then we need to talk about when we could do those interviews.
I thought we talked about interviewing all three anyway.
Well, we talked about the technical interview of all three.
Oh, I didn't know that, I thought it was us doing all three.
But that's certainly up to you guys, whether you want to interview all three, if you want to pare that down based on the results of the technical review.
I'd like to at least see two of them for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I would say based on the technical review,
Yeah.
if I interviewed one of them, it would probably be just courtesy. And I think we could do that with a nice letter thanking them for their interest. The other two, I think, are, you know, what would be considered candidates. And that's kind of where I'd be. I don't want to waste anybody's time, theirs or ours.
Yep.
I'm good
I
with
would
that.
agree with that.
I would agree.
So range 2?
I can do that. Do you want me to try to schedule these for next Monday? Do you want to do a date, try to do a day during the week?
I'd rather do it after morning, after.
Yeah, I'd like
After
to do
Mondays, okay. I'll try to get
That'll
these
work.
set up for next Monday, for both of them. And I already have a set of questions, at least a starting point. I'll send those out to you probably yet today. Take a look at them, and if there's anything you want to massage, let me know that, so we can have a finalized list of questions before the interviews next Monday.
Sounds good.
Okay,
That'll work.
perfect.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy. Next is receive information from county employees. Do I have any county employees that would wish to address the board? Good morning.
Good morning. I just wanted to ask permission, I guess. We got notification that our District 5 Treasurers Affiliate has invited and they've accepted the DOT group is gonna come to just a treasurers meeting for District 5 on Tuesday, August 2nd. It's gonna be an all-day meeting in Ainsworth, so just outside of Washington, so it won't be too far. And I would like to close the office and take all my staff. It would be a good opportunity for them to meet our surrounding counties, plus put faces to names of the people at the DOT that they talk to from the state.
You don't,
Tuesday, the August 5th. So that's, I mean,
Tuesday, August 2nd.
August
So, and
2nd?
Tuesday's our low traffic day. It's
Okay.
usually our catch-up day, cause we get literally no mail on Tuesdays. And, so it should be a fairly.
Don't have a
it'll be-
month-end rush, anything that day, or?
No,
No,
second.
it shouldn't be too bad, and I'll have time to
Communicate.
notify the public.
Yeah, we're
and put
talking
an ad
August,
in or
right?
something,
Yeah.
but it shouldn't be too big of an inconvenience.
You don't
People
need-
can still drop things off in the drop box and you know, we can work them up and send them a receipt the following day.
I think that's great.
You don't need our permission to do that, do you, Amy?
Probably not, but I just
I
thought,
appreciate you asking.
I want you to be aware. I know it does put a hardship on Nancy's group and everybody else in the building, because they'll
We
come
never
in and
worry about that.
look for us. Why aren't they open? Why aren't they here? But, we'll try to put the word out.
Very good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Any other county employees wish to address? Go ahead, Keith.
I forgot to mention, we, have received notice, Mid-America's railroad crossing on Stewart Road. They plan to work on that tomorrow, but that's not our thing, that's them, I mean, we'll be putting up signs to help them, but assuming that, this has been talked about for weeks or months, so I'm not guaranteeing it's going to happen. There's a good chance Stewart Road is closed tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
That would probably get you phone calls.
Thanks for the update. Appreciate that. Any other county employees? Seeing none, do I have anyone from the public wish to address the board? Seeing no one, it is 9:56 and we are adjourned.